Yes. Most coveted private jet at 69,000, 69.4 million. Yes. It can almost go Mach 0.925. Yes. Now, as I remember it, that seems to be kind of fast, but I wanted to go about 4 or 5 Mach. Yes. And there were certain planes that were available to the United States Air Force that I made some adjustments to, and I don't need to go into it today. Yes. But it seems that there's some sort of limitation that all these private aircraft, they can't go past Mach. Now, it could be, okay, it might be a law or something that if you own a private aircraft, you can't go Mach 1 or Mach 1.5 or Mach 2 or whatever it is. But when we start at the highest altitude, private jet ownership, yes, I'd like to know the communication system of those that are so wealthy, yes, that they're able to travel at that altitude, while at the same time looking at their stock portfolio or wanting to read the news. I mean, you have to have an internet connection, don't you? Now, it's not the 5G. Is it something? Is it the 6G or 7G or exactly what is it, G? See, if we're going to introduce 5G to the nation, yes, you would think that they already have the 6G. Isn't that right? See, they always do this a few years before they introduce it. See, when we go from the 3G to the 4G, isn't that right, G? And we go from the 4G to 5G. That's right. It could be that we already have the 6 and 7G, and we're just going to wait 5 years from now. Yes. After everybody's on the 5G, so as to introduce the 6G. Yes. And then approximately 10 to 15 years from now, yes, we're going to introduce to the public the 7G. Yes, yes, yes. But we all know that those that are at the higher altitudes, yes, that can afford that private jet plane, they're probably on the 6G or 7G when they're up there. Now, this is the complete power of attorney guide for consumers and small businesses. Yes. Let's say that I want to have the power of attorney, and you decided to give my wife my sons, yes, as well as the power of attorney, yes, for each one of them without me receiving any due process. Now, my thought is that I should have power of attorney because Dr. Jack Kevorkian helped bring about euthanasia into the spotlight. Yes, when he was an outspoken proponent of patients being allowed to decide if they should die. Now, as a father, what if one of my 5 sons decided to kill themselves? Yeah, yeah. I would say that I should have power of attorney when it involves the actual wants of any minor. Yes. Now, of the Uniform Determination of Death Act, when determining somebody is dead, yes. I had thought that you put a lot of people on ice and you decided to put implants in them. You know, in the United States Navy, let's say that there were a large number of dogs. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And their way of handling problems was they'd just put the dog on ice. Yes. They'd reboot their brains, they'd start up their internal organs, and they'd put them back in the population so they'd be void of any soul or any sort of online consciousness. Yes. Now, being the attorney in fact for healthcare, yes, I had mentioned that I didn't get any notice of court hearings. Now, there could be some others. What is right for you? Living wills, yes. Important terms and concepts to know. Persistent vegetative state versus coma. A persistent vegetative state occurs when the person's brain has been deprived of oxygen in the areas that control thinking, feeling, and communication. Yes, yes, yes. The person is unconscious and cannot respond except by unconscious reflex. A person in PVS can likely breathe on his or her own. The body may exhibit the properties of waking and sleeping, but the person is a PVS displays. Yes, yes, yes. Now, there is obviously some sort of coma versus persistent vegetative state. Yes. Now, as a dad, oh, look at the ethical oath of doctors. The Hippocratic oath that they say is not enforceable. Yes, yes, yes. You know, I'm going to find out what my wife has done to my son's pooch. And I thought you could be sued for violating the Hippocratic Oath. Pooch. See, I went through the oaths of those right now in the medical community. For you to use any implant, any chip, any GPS locator, yes, it does violate the Hippocratic Oath. Oh, Hague Convention on Service Abroad of Judicial and Extrajudicial. Oh, at International Child Abduction. We looked at that. Pooh, the Hague Convention. Those war crimes where you. Oh, well, your Hippocratic Oath. H-Y. Oh. Hippocratic Oath. See, even though you said, yes, hypothecation bond, yes, see, bond, hypothecation, yes, hypocathary, see that, hypotheca, hypnotically refreshed testimony, hyperlink, intellectual property, hypnotically induced testimony, hypotheca, hypothecaria, hypothecary, hypothecation. Well, I actually did look at the oath of those that are physicians. Yes. Excuse me, doctor. Though it has never been sued for enforcement. Yes. I'll get a copy of it for you. Yes. Every physician that has been admitted to the medical bar associations. Yes. Has signed the Hippocratic Oath as that their concern was for the patient, not themselves. Now, Hippocratic, yes, hypnotically, hypertext, Hippocrat, hip, Hippocratic, yes. They might not have it in here. Could you get me a copy of the Hippocratic Oath of the mandatory reporters? Now, I'm going to want power of attorney of my sons, and I'm going to make the decisions for their medical treatment. And your issuance of protection orders where there was no due process, I'm going to sue you. Now, it could be one of these class action lawsuits where you said you didn't have to enforce the rules, the requirements, and the rights. Poop. But when you issue a court order that violates my rights and their rights, it gave power of attorney to my wife. Now, my wife, as much as I know, actually did use them to make Oprah shows, and that Homeland Security arranged for her to leave the territory of Guam. And Jane and Janet decided that they were going to run the nation too. Now, Janet Ann Napolitano used to be the Secretary of Homeland Security. Do you remember, Janet, when you were turning the static on every morning and every night? And I said, Janet, yes, you cannot take the memories of the population. Now, it could have been the number two in command, Jane, decided that she was going to implant those that would be making the decision in the event of international conflict. And you thought you'd use my family. Now, I had documented, yes, Brent, that this power of attorney that makes all the decisions for the medical care of children. See, when you allege crime, yeah, and you know I wasn't there and I wasn't cyber stalking, yeah, let's go ahead. And you allege, yes, that I was in Squim when I wasn't, yes, and I was documenting, yes, the violating Hippocratic Oath right now. Oh, even though it's never been tried in court, I'm wanting to. Well, I think I'll sue you. Now, I want you to give me my sons today, okay? Because Jefferson County, yes. Judge Landis, yeah. You know, if I find that you're chipped, yes. If I find that your dog is not you, yes. If I found out that the ovaries of your dog right now, I would say that the United States Navy has some liability for allowing this to happen. Now, Office of Naval Intelligence, yes. I'm going to want the ovaries of every female dog. Isn't that right? And Office of Naval Intelligence, yes. I'm going to want the testicles of all male dogs. What? Because I will cut your testicles off. I will spay and neuter.